guy was phenomenal. He was Israeli, phenomenal. So you don't always do that.
Like tenors to me seem to be overbearing.
You always
Not all the time, but oftentimes they will.
well, there's art. It's called artistic temperament. You'll get it in music and drama and art, and it just goes with the territory. Yeah. Crazy.
Right?
Yeah, that's what.
That's nice. Like warmer right here.
That's right.
Dude, Mark, how you doing?
Hi. See you. I wish it was
Down here.
Yeah.
not for this, but
Thanks for doing
oh, of course.
Ice everywhere.
Such a good guy.
So you're right, this is actually.
that. Even much better.
Than my shirt. Actually, but
Does it really? Maybe because the wind is coming. But back at our house,
Danny, used to be on
those mid-morning classes.
So I knew him before I met his parents. And
Dirty.
lovely.
I'm gonna show.
8 degree wind chill.
Aaron and I came out here.
All right.
Yeah, that was good.
Andy,
You stuck it out a long
No,
time.
I'm-
That was Tuesday, and it was about.
It was 5 degrees. It was 5 degrees. And when we left the BMH, it was sunny.
I'm gonna be He used to come. I know he used to come.
Getting there so early.
Just a sad, but
Basically, it begs the question.
whenever they want to, I guess they're doing a Zoom thing. I got to make sure I can read without nothing blinded.
It's on my list. I'm gonna ask Doc.
That's one of those,
Sure.
that
Of
sounds like
course.
a Danny.
And
Before you.
So you could read, you read about
of
Danny.
course, and so we'll,
This is when I knew
I
Danny.
think they may have, yeah.
I had taken him to the doctor.
So, it's pretty much, my format's pretty standard, even though you got.
Danny post.
Hey, listen, I took this.
Because at the time, King Super was right. He did not
Right, he
want to
was
cross
with
the
the
picket line.
picket line,
King
right.
Supers is where they had.
Well, no, but it's, I mean, I have,
Leaving,
like, I have the Haas's manual and
said,
but I've done, and there's obviously different denominations.
But the Danny Alcott.
It's pretty much.
So.
They're gonna talk a little bit.
Sure.
Families.
Happy to be here. Stop.
At any rate.
Okay.
He didn't get it.
Your work
Stop.
stopped.
Still going over there.
So I
There.
knew he
It's a
was.
pretty good.
You know,
country.
I
knew he-
I'm at basement.
Well, that's the way some
Basement.
folks are.
The basement shorts, H coat is across the street from here. That is,
I love
that
it.
little rabbi, it's nothing to do with Dot or anything. It's just a little 30 guys. And then you dominate at 9:30, you're out at 11:45. He speaks for 8 minutes, very. And you know what? Small and tiny, at this stage, he's
Started
like,
at the bubble.
there's no politics, there's no nothing. I love it.
But
Yeah, it's really H codish.
I think he moved around.
Yeah, I love it. Actually, I got
Then the
Joel
one that he worked at.
point to be honest, I have to give credit.
Okay.
He was back.
I know he's coming to my house. I was out of town. I was, I had a. I want to see what a simple somewhere. Not this.
We're at service time.
Okay, I'm ready. Yeah, okay.
Ready?
We're ready.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I just.
Oh, where's Joe? Did they do Korea?
No, let me get that for you.
Yeah, let's do Korea. We'll do it in the.
mine were already in.
What?
So you might want to sit on a blanket and then put another one over it. I'll be in the middle.
Oh, hi, Mark.
I'm so sorry to see you. It was such a. It was such a bitch.
It's so sad we have to.
No.
One thing after another.
Yeah. So they're supposed to bring the ribbons for free.
Okay.
Is she getting them?
Looking. Yeah.
We got one more. Does she have it? Are they preparing?
Annie and Harry Mills.
They only have one ribbon.
Look inside the microphone.
Oh, yeah, good idea. There might be one in my backpack too. You know, perfect.
You got,
God is good.
okay, good. So that's good. Okay, so you have need three.
No, there's
This
two-
mic.
there's two microphones. But, and sound, that's a kind of a white.
Yeah, should be a checklist.
That sounds super.
Things happen. So,
Got two, and then
Okay.
I'll.
okay. They only have two, so you guys decide. You put it on your right side. The only left side is when parents. Siblings are always.
Okay.
Be good.
And. Okay, and then,
Did you said right? Sir?
right side. Would you repeat after me? Baruch atah Adonai. Eloheinu melech haolam. Dayan ha'emet. Praise be, Lord, King of the universe, who is the true judge. Praise be, Lord, who is the true judge.
Mark, can you listen to me?
They're
Yes,
kind of ripped.
they should have been ripped. Did they?
You can rip them.
Yeah, you can rip it more. If you want. Ready? Good afternoon. The Jewish people respond to death with three words of blessing. In English, the words mean praised is the judge of truth. So we'll begin our service now with the wisdom of our tradition. So please repeat these words after me. Baruch Dayan ha'emet. Praises the judge of truth. Adonai Nasan Adonai Lakach He Shem Adonai Mevorach. Adonai has given, Adonai has taken. Praise be the name of Adonai. I just have a few brief thoughts to share before we get into the formal part of the service today. And I'm speaking personally right now at the beginning. Danny was a wonderful friend. As they say in Yiddish, a guten neshama, a good soul. was a mensch. He really was. Just a mensch. I can't tell you the many times that he honored us by coming to our house for Shabbat dinner. Always showed up on time. He was always dressed appropriately. He always brought something from the deli or King Soopers. Actually, it was more the deli because it was Shabbos, so it was a fleshik meal, and King's only had, for the most part, the dairy, but he was there. And I have to say, while I'm, like all of us, deeply saddened at his passing, I'm equally deeply honored to have been asked by the family to officiate at his service this afternoon. You know, at this very difficult time, two words come to mind, at least to me. And the words are emunah and bitahon. The Rambam defines emunah as the knowledge that Hashem created and continues to run all of creation. Another definition is faith. And I have to say I'm partial to emunah, the faith definition, as that is the name of my oldest granddaughter. Emunah, simply put, means nothing can exist and no activity can occur without Hashem, without God. So in Jewish literature and our values, there's no such thing as happenstance. There's no random occurrences. Hashem is involved in life's big issues, life and death, war and famine, disease and disaster. Hashem is also involved in the minutia of daily life. No human being or other power can change its destiny. God, Hashem, decrees the fate of man, and Hashem is there on the scene to carry out the decree. For reasons we don't understand, Hashem has called Danny home this week. The other word I briefly mentioned is bitahon. Bitahon is actually different from emunah. Bitahon means trust. Bitahon has been defined as relying and trusting on Hashem. It is a sense of depending on him to watch over and protect us. Hashem is kind, loving, and merciful. While we are all responsible to be proactive, we are not in charge of the outcome, and we are not the determinant of the results. That is Hashem's role. When sitting Shiva myself almost 4 years ago, a friend offered me this simple but powerful analogy. I want to share it with you today, right before we begin the service, in hope that it will some way comfort you and further illuminate the words emunah and bitahon. The friend stated, our lives are like a beautiful tapestry. However, we only see the backside. The knots of colorful threads crossing over each other in the indistinguishable mishmash. It is only when we get to Olam Haba, the world to come, that we get to see the beautiful design and understand the work of Hashem in our total life. I found that comforting. I hope it's comforting to you all as well. In the words of Ecclesiastics, a season is set for everything. A time for every experience under heaven. A time for dancing and a time for wailing. A time for birthing. A time for dying. A time for speaking and a time for silence. A time for seeking and a time for losing. The time of mourning is a complicated time, filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. So we begin our service this afternoon with the recitation of several psalms and readings, thus linking Daniel ben Zev's life with the 3,000-year plus tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God. Adonai madam v'teiroehu ben enosh v'hashvehu Adam lechevel dama yomim k'tzei lo'ever baboker yatzis v'holof le'erev yimolel ve'yovesh. God, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to revert to dust, saying, return, O mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright. They shall have peace. God, you redeem the souls of your servants, and none who trust in you shall be desolate. I will now chant in Hebrew and then in English the famous 23rd Psalm, which I think you will see reinforces the concepts of Amunah and Bitahon. Mizmor David, Adonai roi lo echzar, binos deshet yar b'tzeini, amei menucha yanchaleni, nafshi yishovev, nafshi yishovev, yanheini, b'maglei tzedek, yanheini, b'maglei tzedek, leman shemo, Yankiel, Bigates Amovis, Loirara, Kiata Imadi, Gankiel, Bigates Amovis, Loirara, Kiata Imadi. Shiftacha umishtantecho Ema yanhamuni Shiftacha umishtantecho Shiftacha umishtantecho Ema yanhameni Tarof lefonai shulchon, Tarof lefonai shulchon, Tarof lefonai shulchon, neged zoron, dishanto vashemen roshi, dishanto vashemen roshi, dishanto vashemen roshi, kosive orov, ato vachesed. chesed yedarchuni kol yemei chayom v'shavti b'veis Adonai v'shavti b'veis Adonai lioreh yomim. Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. We're all destined to die. We share it with all who have ever lived and with all who ever will be. Cry for the dead. Hide not your grief. Do not restrain your mourning, but remember that continuing sorrow is worse than death. When the dead are at rest, let their memory be a source of peace, and be consoled when the soul departs. Death is better than a life of pain, and eternal rest is better than constant sickness. Let us not seek to understand what is too difficult for us, nor search for what is hidden, nor be preoccupied with what is beyond, for we have been shown more than we can comprehend. As a drop of water in the sea, as a grain of sand on the shore, are our few days in eternity. The good things in life last for a short time, but the good reputation, the name, Shane Tove, good name that Danny had, endures forever. I'd like now to ask the family, those members who are going to come up and say a few words, to please come up at this time.
A sunny day, but it's very cold. You never think you're going to say goodbye to a younger sibling. By the way, I'm Linda, Danny's sister and the oldest sibling. Danny was my baby brother, 11 years younger than me. I miss him so much. He was kind, thoughtful, generous, and he loved humor. When he was a clerk for King Soopers, his customers made a point to check out at his cash register. And he would welcome them, and perhaps they'd chat a bit, or there'd be a joke while Danny was ringing up the groceries. Unfortunately, Danny had health issues much of his life. But Danny and I would speak on the phone regularly. He always had a new joke or two. I wasn't able to visit the last couple of years because of COVID, but to cheer him up, I would send him joke books and treats. And he loved the tasty treats I got from Amazon, the chocolate babka and rugula from Stern's Bakery via Amazon. He sent me gifts too, like gift certificates and a variety of lovely teas just a few months ago. For the past year, he had trouble with pain, swallowing, breathing, and walking. He fell at home recently and was admitted to the hospital. This time, he wanted no intervention from the medical community, and he chose hospice. I spent the night with him. You know, it was interesting because pain medication made him sleep peacefully. He didn't need his breathing machine, and he was breathing on his own. But in the morning, about 9 o'clock in the morning, when I was still with him, he went to be with mom and dad and my husband Steve for a family reunion in the stars. I'm heartbroken to lose him, but I am so glad he's at peace and won't suffer anymore. Just a few weeks ago, Danny sent me a 15-pound box of crunchy snacks, almonds, chocolates, coated treats, candy, other munchies, and oh, I love munchies. You know, over the next year, when I take a bite, I will recall Danny's nuttiness and sweetness. Goodbye, Danny. You're gone from my sight, but never from my heart. I love you always.
I certainly will. Okay. Hi, I'm Ann Clyman. I'm Henry's wife and Linda's and Sandy's sister-in-law. At the end, Danny was a bit broken, ready to meet his maker, ready to be at peace and without pain. Still, it's hard to let him go. Years ago, 40 years ago, when Henry and I married, Danny took me in as family. And when our families joined, Danny and my brother Walt, though they were very different people, found a kindred spirit. They both loved family and a good laugh, and they enjoyed each other's company, that's for sure. Danny was always welcomed at Marlene and Walt's house. I loved him dearly. Go gently into that good night, Danny. Be comforted with your mom and dad. Our love is with you always.
I'm Henry, Danny's brother. My dear brother Danny, you and I were kids when astronauts first went into orbit. We played spaceman in the big overstuffed rocking chair in the basement. Holding on to each other, we giggled as we experienced the rigors of our make-believe space flights. Later on, we laughed together at the stand-up comedy clubs. We were both in pain. We laughed so hard. And at family events, you always had a corny joke or two. How you remember them all, I will never know. Recently, you didn't laugh very often. I miss that, and I'm sure you missed being able to laugh too. I hope you find laughter wherever you are now. Whenever I hear people laughing, I will think of you. I love you, Danny.
while they're finishing lowering of the casket. Just a minute, we will participate in a tradition of putting dirt on the casket. And I just wanted to explain that sometimes people don't understand what this tradition is, see it as a little bit of disrespect. It is not. Our tradition is that putting dirt on a casket is an act of hesed shel emes, an act of pure kindness and honor. And so I encourage everybody who's here, who can, to take a shovel and to put on at least 3, and if you can do more, it would be fine. Now, there is also a tradition on the first 3 shovels of using the back of the shovel. And the reason for that tradition is it shows our reluctance of doing what we have to do. It's not easy. Then you can switch over. And also, when you're done with the shovel, do not give it to the next person, but put it in the dirt. So I'd like to call upon siblings to start. I will go on the other side and start as well. Yes, you can. Do they have the cottage?
Yes.
Okay, so when they come back. Yeah, that's easy enough. We're gonna try to get it on top of it. The other guys will fill it. Amikamo Yavol Shalom. May Daniel Ben Zev go on to God in peace. Family will join me now in the mourner's Kaddish. Let's read it together. Yiskadal, Yiskadash, Shemei Rabah, the Alma, the Brahiruse, the Amli Mom. Yomadi Fu Asir, okay. Lusanon Lahaim Alamo, Umulane Koras Diasharim, Lushabalev, Hehula Began. Umedet Pulachonot, Napunara, Meara. Beyond Kadusha, Barihu, the Mahusevi Ikiru, Bahaye Honu, Yome Honu, Hayeda, Kolbase Israel, Bagolov Isman Karib, the Imru. Amen. Yehe Shmei, Rabba, Mebarach, Leolam, Leolam. Yisbarach, Yishtabach, Yispalar, Yisramam, Yisnase. Yisadar, Yisalev, Yisalal, Shmei, the Kudisha, Barihu. The Elam, called Virhasa, Vishirasa. Tush Bahasa Venechamasa, Damiran Bealma, Vimru, Amen. Yehe Shlom Rabba Mishamaya, V'chaim Olenu, V'alkol Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. Ose Shalom V'merlav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Olenu, V'alkol Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. You may be seated. We had different versions of the Kaddish. We got it done. Things happen. Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe, creator of heaven, earth, man and woman, be gracious to your children who mourn. May the light of your presence dispel the gloom of absence so keenly felt on this very sad day. Bless them with your compassion, empower them with your love. Touch them with the fullness of your heart that they may be granted inner peace. Was it not you who said, "Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will sustain you with my power." And as we remember the blessings in Daniel Ben Zev's life, we ask you, Eternal One, to remember your promise to us. And let us say, Amen. Please stand for the Kel Mole Rachamim. Mole Rachamim, Shokin, Bamaramim, Ametzem, Nucha, Nicholatachas, Kante Hashkino, Malos Kadashim Mutarim, Bezahar Harakiach, Maskinim, Et Nishmas, Daniel Ben Zev, Shalach Leolamam, Began Eden Te, Menuchoso, Ohana, Bial Harachamim, Astirehu Beseser, Kenoifecha, Leolamim. Utzro, Betziro HaChayim, Es Nishmaso, Adonai Hu Nachaloso, Ve'yanua B'Shalom, Amish Kavo, Venomar, 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 Amen. And the words that generations have spoken, the time of mourning. Hamakon Yinachen Etchem Basalt Sha'e Ablate Sion Yerushalayim. God is with us whenever and wherever needed. May God comfort you and all who have mourned for Zion and Jerusalem. And finally, Zichronam Livracha. May the memory of our dear Daniel Ben Zev, Danny Clyman, only be for a blessing. Amen. That concludes our service.